Hi everyone, it's Patrick with Swerve Specialties. I wanted to give an update on the Mark 5 Swerve module. Mark 5 prototype modules were first seen on 2910's robot at the 2025 championship. We swapped these modules onto the robot about a week and a half prior to the event. They worked flawlessly and we won the championship. The Mark 5 is a ground-up redesign. Previous Swerve modules, the Mark 1 to Mark 4 family, reused parts from the prior generation of modules. This was beneficial as it made it easier for us to release new modules, and it allowed for upgrade kits from the prior generation. It did, however, make it so we were tied to design decisions that were made a long time ago. The Mark 5 is a complete ground-up redesign. Everything was open for optimization. The first module we will be releasing is the Mark 5N. We believe the Mark 5N will be the most popular Mark 5 module. The Mark 5N utilizes the Kraken X44 for steering, and that lets us achieve a smaller footprint. So the Mark 5N is the same length as the Mark 4i module, but also the same width as the Mark 4N. So it's a considerably smaller footprint than any of the other inverted Mark 4 family series modules. The Kraken X44 also is significantly lighter weight, but still plenty powerful enough to be the steering motor. The Mark 5 modules feature fully enclosed gears. So we have this cover on top that encloses all the gears above the main plate, but then also on the bottom, you'll see that the bevel gears are enclosed within this wheel mount. So this is nice because you can just put lots of grease on all of the gears, and when the gears spin up, it doesn't get slung everywhere. The covers also keep carpet fuzz and other debris out of the gears to reduce maintenance and help the gears last longer. Another interesting side effect is the entire module in operation is a lot quieter. The Mark 5 features a very wide wheel. So this is still a 4-inch diameter, but this billet wheel is 2¼ inches wide. And then we're also going to be offering a spiky tread wheel as well, and we intend to offer a Coulson option as well. The Mark 5 features a recessed encoder. So no longer is the encoder sticking up out of the top of the module. It's actually recessed in to the cover here. Another cool feature is the quick change gear ratio swap. The gear ratio can be swapped very quickly without taking off the cover. So this is the drive pinion. So to change the gear ratio, you remove the drive pinion, and we have wrench flats on the pinion. And you can pull out the pinion. So this is a 14-tooth pinion. We have 3 pinions available. This one's a 12-tooth and a 16-tooth. And these are all not profile shifted. And you can see that all the spacers and everything are built into the pinion. So in order to make the gear mesh correctly, we have to move the position of the idler gear. So to do that, you just loosen this screw, and then this one you need to loosen about 1/4 inch. And then based on where you position this determines where the idler gear is positioned and which pinion you will be using. So let's say we wanted to use the 12-tooth pinion. We'd want to move this all the way to this position and tighten it back down. Then we can drop in the 12-tooth pinion and put back on the retention screw. So it's realistic to be able to change all of your Swerve modules ratios in about 5 minutes. This makes experimenting with different ratios very easy. Now we're going to disassemble the module and take a closer look at the parts inside. So the first thing we'll do is remove the drive motor pinion. Take it out, and then we'll unscrew the motors. And you'll notice there are no spacers on these motor screws that you need to manage. It's all pretty easy. briefly want to discuss where the strength of a module comes from. So when the wheel impacts a bump, the actual impact loading goes through the wheel bearings, into the wheel mounts, through the main steering bearing, and into the main plate. And from there, it's transferred into the chassis of the robot. So everything above the main plate doesn't see a lot of the impact load. So that's how we're comfortable running this plastic housing, which holds together the top of the module. But we also feel that these plates really should be made out of 7075 aluminum. Now we'll remove the housing. So the housing will be made out of glass-filled nylon, which is a really strong plastic. It's the same material that high-quality power tool bodies are made out of. Due to the geometry of this part, there's actually very little flex here. It's actually quite a bit stiffer than the previous modules. The housing has alignment features, so installing it onto the module is very easy. This housing will feature 3 threaded inserts for mounting accessories to the top of the cover. Here you can see the idler gear mounted to the bottom of the housing, and I'm going to show what the movement looks like when you change the gear ratio. Okay, so here you can see how the idler gear actually moves to achieve the different center distance to the drive pinion. So as it's moving, it's maintaining a constant center distance to the double gear, but the center distance to the drive pinion is shifting. So now we're going to remove the encoder cover. So there's just 2 screws. And the production encoder cover is going to be made out of clear ABS, so that's going to be pretty cool. And here's where the encoder mounts, down in this pocket. So this is the CTRE CAN encoder, but other encoders will also work, such as the SRX mag encoder, Thrifty encoder, Redux CAN and mag encoder. We've also designed in some generic mounting holes, so a PCB could be mounted directly to the housing with no additional encoder covers. If anybody's interested in designing a compatible encoder, let me know and I'll provide the specs. We also have a zip tie feature that lets you zip tie the encoder wires to the housing. The Mark V uses a new double gear. There's only one of these double gears since it's not needed to change the gear ratio. We also have a double gear for the steering, and as you'll see, this second stage of the steering is gear driven as opposed to belt driven in our previous modules. And then we're going to remove the idler gear here, and this is retained with an E-clip just like our V2 and 3 intermediate gears on the Mark IV series. The main turret gear of the module uses a 10 TP tooth profile, which allows the teeth to be big enough so we can CNC machine them. And then another interesting thing is the center column is an integral part of the turret gear, so there's no concern about clocking the center column wrong during assembly. Taking a look at the bottom plate, you'll see we're actually only using 2 mounting screws per side, as opposed to 3 on the previous generation of modules. It turns out the middle screw wasn't actually providing that much strength, and it was quite common for teams to not use it to save weight. The bottom plate also has a large chamfer, which helps with field elements such as the 2023 charge station. Before we remove the bottom plate, I want to show that the wheel axle screw is accessible through the side of the module. And we'll remove the bottom plate. And then we're going to remove the wheel mounts. So with this version of the prototype parts, you do actually have to unscrew all 5 of these screws to get the wheel out. I have tweaked the design though so that this wheel mount can stay fixed. So you only have to do the screw that goes through the wheel plus this wheel mount to actually remove the wheel. And then we'll remove the turret gear from the main plate. You can see here that we're using a rubber sealed version of the X contact bearing, and that'll keep these bearings from getting gunked up over time. Here's the turret gear with the intermediate shaft. So this intermediate shaft is also pretty cool. It's the small bevel gear is integral to the shaft, and that helps to reduce backlash and assembly error. And another neat thing is how these bevel gears actually seal into this wheel mount. So the OD of these bearings is larger than the bevel gear. So when you put the bevel gear into the wheel mount, it like completely closes out the hole. And it's the same for this side too. So like if we put this, so this is pretty large bearing around this large bevel gear. So that like completely seals this hole when you put it in.